Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting of November 19, 2018. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, then remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, I'd like a moment of silence for people who have gone before us. The first one is Alex Kokoros, recently passed away. Alex attended Curry College, where he obtained a bachelor's and earned his master's degree. Alex has been working for the Abington Police Department as a sergeant. Alex was a dedicated family man, a proud police officer. Alex will be deeply missed by his family, friends, and loving friends. We also like to pray for Virginia Lind, age 97, who passed away recently. Virginia was from Milton and was a loving wife and mother and grandmother. Virginia worked for the Abington Public Schools for many years and was loved by each and every student and faculty member. Virginia is a positive effort on every student. Virginia will be deeply missed by her many friends and loving family. If I could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Thank you. Public announcement. Jim.
I do. Abington Venturing Crew 41. Calling all youth ages 14 through 21. A new venturing crew is starting right here in Abington. For those of you that are unaware, Venturing is a Boy Scouts of America program that is co-ed and for youths 14 through 21. Unlike Boy Scouts, venturing crews decide what they do for a program. Venturing Crew 41 will be focused on assistance in emergency management and response in the town of Abington. We're looking for any youth interested in a program that is fun and full of challenge and adventure, acquiring skills in the area of emergency preparedness and response, becoming a skilled resource for other groups, experiencing positive leadership from adult and youth leaders, having a chance to learn and grow in a supportive, caring, and fun environment. For more information, anyone interested can send an email to troop41abington@gmail.com and feel free to visit www.venturing.org for more information about the program.
Thank you. Tim?
Abington Garden Club will be having a green sale and craft fair on Saturday, December 1st, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the United Church of Christ Parish Hall. There will be plenty of greens to be sold and used as centerpieces or gifts, and many of crafters will be selling their unique gift items for the holidays. There will also be various food items on sale.
Thank you. Ken?
Our Abington Celebrates weekend is Friday, December 7th, Saturday, December 8th, Sunday, December 9th. Pretty much the same events as last year. Ugly Sweater Christmas Ball Party is by the Abington Lions, the Legion Hall on Friday. Saturday morning is Breakfast with Santa, sponsored by the Friends of the Abington Seniors. That's at the Abington Senior Center from 8 to 11. Lighting of the Christmas tree, which is probably the most anticipated event of that weekend, is 3 to 6 at Island Grove. You can visit Santa in his secret workshop. Free admission. Tree lighting is about 5 o'clock. This year, the Rotary is going to help kids make s'mores, and we have horse-drawn carriage rides through the park. So that was just added, and hopefully we'll get a nice dusting of snow for that event. The last event is the Candlelight Christmas Concert at the United Church of Christ from 4 to 5, free admission. Hope everyone could attend.
I think, Tom, you don't have anything, right?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
I'm clean also. The next thing on the agenda is public comment. Public comment, again, just to remind everyone, was voted back in 2015, I believe, as part of the state requirement to make sure that we address public comment correctly. We, at this time, moved it up to before we went through our meeting results. Public comment is limited to the items on our open public disclosure piece of the agenda, and is never discussed on executive session meeting points. Is there anyone in the public who has something to discuss that's on our agenda tonight? Yes, sir.
I'm Andrew DeRusha.
Could you please come up to the microphone?
Sure.
Name and address, please.
I'm Andrew DeRusha, live at 723 Randolph Street. My mother, Mary DeRusha, served this town for 14 years. She loves what she does and has always had a positive outlook on life and anything she does. And this is all regarding to Rick's contract.
There's not, I don't want to get personal, but there's
Yeah.
nothing on the forum that is regarding Rick's contract on the public comments.
Okay.
So based on our rules that we follow, we only address items that are on the list of items on our open agenda.
What's on the agenda? I didn't get a sheet. There wasn't enough.
On our agenda tonight is discussed with the Board of Assessors to set the tax classification rates, request for change of offices at a company, a 10th district request to change operating hours, a vote to approve our open session minutes, a vote to lift the Island Grove dog restrictions on December 9th, the surplus school committee report, and the town manager report.
All right. I just thought a sexual assault in the town would be important.
It's not about not being important, it's
Okay.
just not on our agenda,
All right. When will it be?
when it's appropriate.
Okay.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Phil DeRusha, I'm the husband of Mary DeRusha.
Yes,
This
sir.
also has to do with Rick's contract.
We're not discussing Rick's contract tonight, sir.
We have some questions we want to ask
It's not,
to find out
not appropriate.
why this has been swept under the rug.
This isn't the forum.
And I think I should have this podium to ask some questions.
Well, I apologize, sir, but you do not have the right to approach that podium and address these conversations in this manner. Until it's on the agenda, it's not open to public discussion. That's our historic way we do our business. There's nothing on this agenda that...
Was Rick aware that other women other than Mary...
Sir, that has
were-
nothing to do with what our agenda is tonight. You are not allowed to discuss things that are not on our public agenda. That's the law.
That's the law?
That's the law, sir.
So isn't arresting somebody...
Sir,
committed
that's
a
not
crime?
part of the, we're not,
You're doing nothing but
we're not
sweeping
doing
this
this,
under
Mr.
the rug.
DeRocher. We are not
My
doing this
wife
at
reached
this
out to
meeting,
you
sir.
and
We
you
are
were
not
the one.
doing this at this meeting, sir.
Well, I'm telling you what you can do, put them both on administrative leave because they're getting investigated by the MCAD and the EEOC, and you all get registered letters. So stop trying to sweep stuff under the rug.
Mr. DeRocher, we're not discussing it tonight.
Oh, yeah, you will be, because it's
We're not
gonna be in
talking
the
tonight,
newspaper.
sir. Not tonight, sir.
You have no conscience, none of you.
Not tonight, sir.
Not tonight?
Not
Well,
tonight.
when? My wife's a psychotic mess for 9 months since this has been going on, and you're playing your corrupt crap. And we all
There's
know
no
what you're up
corrupt
to.
craft, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I'm following the
She
rules
called
of
you
law.
looking for help, and you threw it to the wolves. You all got emails, and only these two gentlemen here reached out to her. A crime was committed.
Sir.
The police
Whoa,
were
whoa,
not
whoa, wait a
involved.
second.
Yeah, fair enough.
Don't point
There
your
ain't
don't point
two
your finger
Fs.
at me. Sit down.
Don't tell me nothing, sit down. You're as guilty
Yeah.
as the perv who grabbed my wife in front of a witness. And I'll be leading the charge to get all the papers to recall you. And when you go to executive session, it should be to suspend the town manager and the assistant town manager until this investigation is over, like every other town does. Why is Abington so different?
Are you done?
Because you're corrupt.
Next on our agenda is
And
a
to stiff
public
the
appointments.
people of this town is borderline.
6:35, a joint meeting with the Board of Assessors for the 2019 tax classification. Please come to the table. Go right up there.
I know.
Rick, what would you do if your wife...
Sir, enough is enough, sir. Thank you. You've made your point.
And what are you gonna do about it?
You've made your
What
point.
are you
I'm
gonna
addressing
do?
my meeting, sir.
What would you
You don't
do?
need to worry about what I'm gonna do, sir. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm running a meeting. Thank you for your
Sweeping it
opinion.
under the rug.
No, I've done nothing of the
You're sweeping
sort.
it under the rug.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you're not welcome.
Please
You're
continue.
just as criminal as the perv that grabbed her is.
Please continue.
Jack Pistorino, Deputy Assessor. I'm here tonight with Chairman Larry Keough and Ann Welch to discuss the FY 2019 classification here. Every year, those present at our annual town meeting vote to approve the upcoming budget figures. The money to fund the budget comes from multiple sources like receipts, revenues, and state aid. The remaining money comes from the levy. The levy refers to the amount of money communities can raise through real estate and personal property taxes. The classification hearing does not change the amount of money which can be raised via the levy. A split rate will not increase revenue for the town. A split rate shifts some of the tax burden from all residential properties onto all commercial, industrial, and personal property accounts. Since you need to raise a fixed levy amount, the valuation and tax rates move in opposite directions. If the total town value increases, the tax rate will decrease. If the total town values decrease, the tax rate will increase. However, overrides, capital exclusions, debt exclusions, if they're approved, it's likely the tax rate will increase no matter what. This next slide is our outstanding debt. For fiscal year 19, it is $4,038,000. Compared to last year, 2018, it was $4,172,000. A slight difference, but it did go down a little bit. And these are the voting proposals that we have on all our debt. So it's the school and police station and so forth. I'd like to talk about the CPA a little bit. The CPA does not increase the tax rate. It is a separate surcharge. It does not go towards the payment of your real estate tax bills or the general fund. For fiscal year 18, last year, the town collected approximately $366,000 for the fund itself. The Board of Selectmen hold a classification hearing each year to determine if the levy gets divided evenly via a single tax rate, or if the tax rate burden gets shifted between the classes. For residential, we have 87.8% for residential. We have 9.1% for commercial, a little bit under 1% for industrial, and personal property is a little bit over 2%. Historical class percentages, as you can see, from 2003 to 2019, the residential and commercial percentages are basically the same. They really haven't changed. In fact, looking back at the Department of Revenue's website, the trend has been that way since 1991. It really hasn't changed much. The LA7 shift. Should the selectmen choose to shift some of the burden onto the commercial, industrial, and personal property, the shift may not be more than 150% of the original burden. Given this restriction, our minimum residential share with the maximum shift, the residential would be 81.7, and the max shift for commercial would be 18.2. So the first line there, if you see, it's a single tax rate. The tax rate would be $17.39 for both residential and commercial. If we did a max shift, down below you would see the residential would be $16.19, and the commercial, industrial, personal property would be $26.09. Fiscal year 18 tax rate was $17.82. The proposed fiscal year 19 tax rate is $17.39, which is a decrease of 43 cents in the tax rate. The current value of the average single-family home in Abington is a little bit over $363,000. The taxes would be $6,300. Currently, 61% of all the single-family homes are valued at or below the average. The current value of the average commercial property is $879,000. The taxes would be $15,200. Currently, 76% of all the commercial properties are valued under $1 million. This screen right here, it shows you the impact of a shift. A single tax rate, again, residential would be $17.39, and commercial would be $17.39. If we just look at a 5% split, residential tax rate would be $17.27, a savings of a little over $43. The commercial tax rate would be $18.26 and would increase in $765. And you can go right down the line there. We can look at 0.25%. The residential tax rate would be $16.79, a savings of $218. The commercial tax rate would be $21.74, it would increase $3,800. And again, like we said, the maximum shift, the residential tax rate would be $16.19, a savings of $436. And the commercial tax rate would be $26.09, and would increase it would be $7,600. So those are all the percentages that you can shift if you would like to shift the burden. In 2018, 114 communities had a split tax rate. 94 of these communities have split the tax rate for more than 10 years. 85% have split the tax rate for more than 25 years. The average residential percentage for a split rate community is 79%. The average residential percentage for a single tax rate town is 18%. Of the 27 city and towns in Plymouth County, 5 have a split tax rate. They would be Carver, Middleborough, West Bridgewater, Brockton, Hanover. When determining values, we are governed by the Department of Revenue regulations. We must analyze qualified sales from the last full calendar year and adjust accordingly. For fiscal year 2019 values, we must use sales from calendar year 2017. Property values get adjusted after the sales analysis each year. Property values are submitted and certified by the Department of Revenue. Property values may change as a result of building permits, sales inspections, random inspections. We also have a 9-year cyclical program from the Department of Revenue that we have to do. We have to visit each property at least once every 9 years. In closing, the Board of Assessors voted to recommend that the Board of Selectmen adopt a single tax rate.
The board have any questions? Ken?
We go through this every year. I know it's probably new to some of the new members, but, and I've always asked kind of the same questions, but a lot of people want to target big business, you know, when I consider like Target, Walmart, that sort of thing, big business. But there isn't a way to target big business without hurting small mom and pop business, is that correct?
There really isn't. There is a small, like we were talking earlier, there is a small commercial exemption. Only 14 towns out of the 351 in Mass adopted that. It sounds good, but it really doesn't work the way it sounds. There's certain criteria that you have to look at. We get a list from the department, from the state, and it has, I believe, maybe 80 properties on it. Out of those properties, we have to take out land for commercial land and things of that nature. And we look at it because some of the requirements is you have to have, for this exemption, you have to have, the property has to be less than $1 million. You have to have employees that are 10 and under. And there's a lot of different criteria to it. But when we look at this list, it turns out to be only about 35-ish that would get this. You can adopt an exemption of 10%. That does not go to the business, it will go to the property. A lot of times the business is lease or rent, so it doesn't really go, unless they own the property, of course. You also have to look at it where it could be a doctor's office that has, the value could be under $1 million, have, 10 or more employees, but, are they a small business? And they might qualify. So you have to look at it, things like that. So truthfully, we really don't have anything like that that would work in the town.
Go ahead.
It looks like the commercial and industrial is only about 10 or 11% total.
The commercial alone is 9%, like I said. Industrial is a little bit under 1%, and personal property is about 2%. So total is about 12.
So about 12. And I think the figure we look at, to even entertain the idea of a split rate, is at least 20% you look at or more?
Again, you can pick in anything, but a lot of towns, the 25, 30 and up, usually split it. And it's only 114 of those, but
So basically, in order for us to even, personally, for me to entertain a split rate, we have to attract more business to town.
Again, you can split it at any
Right.
percentage you would like, but yes, I would agree with that.
All right, and the local towns that you said have it are Hanover, Brockton, Rock,
West Bridgewater, Carver.
Middleborough. Yeah, and those are all towns that have large industrial.
West
Yeah,
Bridgewater has like 30% or so forth.
yeah, okay.
Do you know what Carver has offhand?
The
I think
cranberry
it might be
bogs, that's a lot.
20-ish.
Okay, thanks.
They also have cranberry bogs, which,
Businesses.
yeah, they play a big role in that in Carver.
If I could, only because of my experiences there. There's so much land in Carver that's classified as 61A farmland, and that is valued by the state. That's not valued locally by the assessors. So it is, with the intent of encouraging farmland and the preservation thereof, the assessment on those by the state tend to be artificially low. So the only way to get the value out of that land in a town like Carver is to split the rate. That's the only way to do it. Other than that, it's not a town with huge commercial, but it's all in the farmland.
That was my question, because you're driving through, it doesn't seem like it, but when you mention the cranberry bogs, and yeah, they're all, it looks like open land, but it's businesses. Thank you.
Anything else?
Now, is the wording for a motion?
No, there's a lot of fun.
If not, I'll
To
just...
adopt a single tax rate or a split.
All right, I will make a motion that we adopt a single tax rate for FY 2019.
Motion was made to adopt a single tax rate for 2019. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Tom seconds that. Anything further to say? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. The town will adopt a single rate for 2019. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you much for your service.
Watching the show.
Mr. Chairman, we probably should have, just to remind, that was a public hearing, so we probably should have entertained, I think it's too late now, I don't think we wanted to speak on that, but maybe for the next one's an open hearing too, it's a public hearing, so. I don't think, we've never really been to vote to go into a public hearing, but we have made a vote to end the public comment.
Okay.
Section of that, so for the next time. The good vice chairman would have reminded you about that.
Yeah, let's do it. It's hardly the case. I just feel we look like Rockwood Central, stores.
No, actually, no, it was in the, no, it was an agenda item. I think, actually, we're gonna vote on that now. And they were allowed to, they did, and they made comment on it.
Expected that to take a lot longer.
Do we wanna do the, open session minutes while we're waiting for?
I'd like to, if the board is in agreement, I'd like to move to the action discussion items and to vote in the approval of the October 29th, 2018 open session minutes, if they're agreeable. Second to last page of the document. God bless you.
Thank you.
We were all here.
If I could, I'd like to amend public to under action discussion items, public comment. Kevin Damasio, 29 Orange Street, provided comment on action discussion item 2. He stated they're not happy the police had gone 4 years without a contract. I would like verbatim exactly what he said written down into the minutes, if that's agreeable to the board.
So Ken would like to change the public comment under action discussion items
If we have to look at the TV. Thank you.
to amend the comments to be exactly what Kevin Marzio said when he gave his.
That's no problem.
Comments?
Any other changes by many other members of the board?
I'm almost done.
If not hearing anything else to be, does people need more time?
I'm fine.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of October 29th as amended.
Motion has been moved to approve the minutes of the 29th as amended. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second.
Just discussion.
We have a discussion, yes, sir.
Okay, amending that, so we would approve that at the next meeting, the amendment.
That's fine if you want to see them, yeah, you know.
I mean, I
Oh,
don't
Do
mind,
you want to hold them to see what?
no, I don't mind approving
Okay,
this,
all
except for maybe number one, or at least we'll have it at the next meeting.
Yeah, just
You know what I mean?
a copy at the next meeting.
Yeah.
We have a copy at the next meeting of the amendment, what we amended tonight for option number 1, what the exact statement was, just so we can go over it if we
Yeah.
have to. Any questions?
Absolutely.
All right, so I have a motion, a second, and a request to see comment number 1 as amended for our next meeting. Other than that, anything else to say by the board? All in favor to approve the minutes of the 29th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, it's 5-0, thank you. Given the fact that we're not going off till 7:15 for the next public hearing, could we do the board's amenable? I'd like to do the surplus school committee report. Any questions on that?
About about three?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, actually, no, I'm going to withdraw that because the change of plans for the Abington Celebrates Weekend is not needed. They were thinking about doing pictures with Santa up at the Grove, but,
On the dog thing?
yeah, but they're not going to do that, so they're going to skip a year, so we can just, don't worry about that, skip over. Sorry, thank you for bringing that too. Thank you.
We'll skip over number 3
What the
all
hell?
told tonight and go to surplus school committee. I believe there's someone in the audience to address us. Mr. Joyce? Name and address, please, sir.
Hi, Paul Joyce, 46 Highland Street, Abington. Probably have copies of the report. Do you guys have copies of it? Do you need it?
We do not, actually, I
I
don't
don't think
think.
we have copies of the report. Thank you very much.
They turned it down because the glare was going off my head. That's how I took it.
Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. The copies are just for reference. I'll walk through the highlights of it. So I was on the committee for determining recommendations for what to do with the surplus schools, the North Elementary School and the Center Elementary School. There was 5 of us on the committee: Jared Driscoll, Wendy Happel, Ken Howe, myself, and Bob Manning. So we spent a few meetings talking about what should be done with the schools. We have toured the schools, talked to the town treasurer and the assessor about different scenarios. Overall, what the group felt was that something should be done, a decision should be made with these schools. Right now, they sit vacant. They have to be partially heated to maintain the fire systems for the limited areas that are still protected by them. And at the same time, as they sit vacant, they're starting to deteriorate in some areas. The North School has an issue with the facade coming down. So it's viewed that they're not necessarily sitting vacant as an asset to the town. They're more of a liability in terms of either they're going to become more costly or they're unsafe. You know, somebody might break into it, it might become an issue. So, and I'll run through the different scenarios we evaluated. But one thing that came up front that was agreed to unanimously among the committee was whatever is done with the center school, the Murphy baseball field should be separated from that property. It's a valued field in terms of the town's sports. The property can be handled separate from that, and that's one unanimous outcome of our committee is that field should be kept for use of the town for the sports in perpetuity. All right. So our report here outlines 4 different scenarios for the schools. The first one is really the preferred approach for the both properties, and that is to demolish both buildings at cost. The reason for that is determining what gets done with each one of these properties is not going to be an easy task. If one gets sold or if both get sold, many people around the town that live in those areas or in other areas of the town are going to want to have a say as to what happens to those properties. That was clear even among the small group that we had. So we looked at this as an option, as how would this get done? in terms of the cost to the average taxpayer, it could be done two ways. It could be done in a one-year debt exclusion or a one-year capital expense or a 5-year debt exclusion. And we got some high-level numbers, but we didn't get any formal quotes on the demolition cost for the buildings, but we'd like to have the buildings demolished. The buildings have asbestos in them that needs to be remediated, and have the areas be made safe and just left as open space. And what that will do is leave the decision as to what to do with the properties for a future time. They can be, maintained, kept in the town's ownership. So basically, the cost for this, based on an average Abington home price of $343,000, when that was the May timeframe, May this year, that's the average value of the house in Abington. If we were to do this in 1 year in a capital exclusion, it would cost that average household $100 to $200. And that's based on, this is in the report, that's based on an estimated demolition cost of $500,000 to $1 million to demolish those buildings. And that's an estimate that includes the remediation of the asbestos that's in some of the piping and possibly in the earthen basements of the buildings as well. That tears down the buildings, makes the areas safe, and we retain open space, and then we can figure out what to do with them. That's 1 year. So for 1 year, we do it all in one shot, roughly $100 to $200 per household. If it's spread out over 5 years, it comes out to about $2 to $4 per month, depending upon the total value of the cost for that average home price of $343,000. I'm going to skip ahead to the next scenario and come back to this. So the next scenario was looked at was how could we do this with a zero cost to the town? So one thought was to sell one of the properties to a developer, but require that sale of the property, the developer, to demolish the other building as part of the sale. So he purchases the land for one of the schools, has to demolish the building for the other. Then the town would retain ownership of that second property. This would approach a zero cost for the town. There may be some upfront costs for due diligence, bidding process, and doing like that. And I guess it's optimistically a zero cost. A developer may be interested in one of the pieces of land. We took some high-level guesses at what that land might be worth. The assessor has a value of the land, but in terms of what it's used for, if it's residential housing, it could be divided up into a number of sublots that would cover the cost of demolition, and it might be something a developer might be interested in. The problem comes in for us is, and the reason we didn't recommend this, is which school gets decided to be sold and which school gets decided to be kept. Because when a developer purchases the land, regardless of what the sale agreement is and how many stipulation we put in, if someone purchases it, we as the town will lose our leverage as to how that property gets handled. They'll follow the laws, build what they want in accordance with the zoning and permitting, but we won't have a say in how it gets built and what it gets done. So we lose control of that for one of the properties. That's assuming you decide which one to sell. The other problem with it is if we do stipulate that the developer that purchases it demolishes the other building, tying up a sale based on the action that he has to complete without a defined timeline and rules for how he's going to handle his construction and safety, we might lose some control there. It might be asking for more trouble. But the other way to handle this is to sell one property and use the proceeds from that to demolish the other building. But it puts us back to the first scenario, that it's not an easy decision to figure out how to sell either property and then what either property will be sold as. And we couldn't come to a conclusion among our group on that case. So the third and fourth scenario are proposing to reuse the properties, either or both, for senior housing or 55-plus housing, to meet the need in the town for additional senior housing and 55-plus housing. Essentially, the options, the scenarios considered here are very similar. One is to try to reuse the buildings and turn them into housing. The other one is to tear them down and build new housing. This is a significant investment and require a lot more investigation in terms of sources of funding, and design, and other requirements around that. There is one issue with the center school regarding converting it to senior housing. It is, the way it is zoned, it might be a little bit difficult to convert that plot to senior housing, but according to the zoning board, it's not impossible. Then our committee did submit requests for proposed uses for the buildings to all the town departments. We did only receive one. It was from the fire chief requesting that the North Elementary School be considered as a location for a fire station. And his letter is attached to the back of the report, and he proposes putting addition onto the building and creating a fire station. It's included there for information. Our recommendation for demolishing the buildings would, is what we resulted in as the, the best path forward to address the problem quickly without letting it kind of fester and linger. That's primarily it. Did I leave anything out?
I think you got it all.
Right. Any questions?
Board have any questions?
I have a question on four-wheel. Is that being used now? Four-wheel being used?
Being fully utilized by the school department, I believe. And I think there's other agencies there also.
North Shore Collaborative, I believe, is in there?
Is in there also, yes. They moved down from the north.
Okay.
Ken?
So we have about four scenarios. Was there a consensus scenario where you have 5 members on the board? Did any of them agree on anything? Instead of dumping it in our lap?
That's the thing. The board was made up, it was of people that lived in, somewhat close to each area. And like I said, when it came down to saying, all right, well, which one do we think that should be sold and which one should be kept, there's no consensus. And if we had made a consensus decision on that, I don't know if I'd be comfortable proposing it. I think it should be, discussed further. It's not an easy decision because they're both in the middle of residential areas.
Biggest constraint and agreement was the demolishing both schools to get them down so we had free space in the town. And finding a way to make that equitable as possible and get it done as quickly as possible. Both schools are suffering abandonment, not that they're abandoned, but they're just not being utilized. And both schools have above-the-ground asbestos. They've had some remedial asbestos removed, but will require more before we do anything. And finding the most equitable way to take both schools down and get them at least to ground level, so that whether the town wanted to leave them as open space or then go forward and find a mutual developer, or whether or not we wanted to parlay with a developer using CPA funds or something like that.
Yep.
Those were all proposals we looked at, but when it came right down to it, it's scenario number one, which was the preferred one, was to demolish at cost, if possible, both buildings and get it down to free space for the town.
So there was a majority of your members that voted?
As I recall, that was
Yeah.
the most unified vote we could get.
Yeah, our preferred option is basically, eliminate the liability, get rid of the buildings as they are because they have asbestos. The North School has a facade issue. We don't want to get hampered with having to fix a building we don't know what to do with. And once the buildings are gone, we have open space, so we're not making any revenue off these properties right now. And as open space, they'll still remain as assets to the town, and we can have we can take our time to figure out what the best solution for one of them is. I mean, we did have one suggestion to make a park out of the North School. That was my personal suggestion, but to me, that's a decision for later on, once the problem of the schools is taken care of.
Both schools have a very old heating system. Both schools have a requirement to maintain a fire suppression system inside the schools, so we have to have a concentrated insulated process in the cellars to maintain that piece of it right now. And removing that would remove a lot of responsibility for the town to worry about the buildings in case a fire or break-in is concerned, what damage could be done to those suppression systems or anything else. So again, if you're asking, the only thing I believe we all agreed is to get them down as quickly as possible, to get them out of the way so that whole issue would be resolved completely. As far as that's concerned, open space is open space. You can always go development. You can always sell the open land to a developer if they want to do it that way. So when we decided to make this presentation, the final comment of the comments were, let's just get them down.
What about the fire station? the request of the fire state for the fire station?
It's on the last 2 pages.
No, I read it.
He expressed the interest, the chief expressed an interest of the North School, given the situation of its location, the ability to possibly put up a steel structure attached to that building for the bays of the equipment, and the dispersing of equipment from a central location to get off on 3 different avenues was an admirable place for him to think about using it. Because, as you all know, Route 18 widening is occurring. When the Route 18 widening is finished in front of the fire department, they're gonna take 12 feet of the driveway of the fire department. So you will not be able to pull out ladder 1 out of the fire station,
And perform maintenance.
without public safety being an issue.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be like on the curb. So that's an issue with that current main station. And so I believe the chief is looking any possible open land that we had. Now, this discussion, we could go back and say what we thought, coulda, woulda, shoulda done at the Chinese food restaurant at the corner where Giordano's is now, whatever. We lost that part. There's not a lot of open land for the town to do another, if they wanted to do another main fire station, where you're gonna put it and how you're gonna put it in.
So how did your committee feel about the fire station proposal?
We were asked, when I asked, I went in as the selectman representative saying, we're not gonna dictate to the selectmen that we gotta ask what interest there is in the town for any of these, either or both of these school buildings. And the only one to step up and report was the fire chief. And his only interest was in the north station as opposed to the center school station because of its central location. I don't think we as a board voted one way or the other whether or not you should adopt it as a fire station. I don't think we as a board thought that was a decision we would make in the first place. We would pass it on to the board of selectmen to make those decisions.
Right.
So I believe that's the reason why we added it to our report as the only plausible interest in the property, but would leave it to the selectmen or the town to decide if they want to go forward with that, if that's something they want to proceed. And if so, I believe there's going to be conversations with the fire chief before we even did that, so. Ken?
I think another thing that the chief was noting is that when there was build-out at Union Point, that area is gonna be more of the center of town when you consider that as part of Abington. So I think that's one. A lot of people say, well, it's gonna be, the fire station's gonna be moving farther away from my house, and, you know, I get that, but it will be more to the center of, geographically more to the center of town if you include the Union Point property. And I do like the idea that, you know, you've got 18 there, you've got 58, you've got, you know, you go down Washington Street, so.
And he also made a good point, Ken, I think, in the letter that, you know, selling the one on Route 18 and the one on Rockland Street might be able to do, I don't know if we can, but I mean, certainly worth the discussion.
The only concerns I have about both these buildings is, and history repeats itself, and if we haven't learned anything by Griffin's Dairy and the Boy Scout building, we should act before it comes down on its own.
Right.
You know, we had a beautiful bond up there, and we just, basically now, the Griffin's Dairy Committee is basically what the initial recommendations were 15 years ago. But now, we don't have a beautiful bond there, because it got burned down. So, and I'm afraid these buildings, so my thoughts are, and we're not gonna vote this tonight, obviously,
Right,
but
right.
my thoughts are that if there's gonna be even the idea of a fire station there, then the fire chief should get in there and explain it to, I guess, us, because we're gonna be making a decision. And if something has to be, even if we don't decide, we have to do something to the building. You know, whether it's do minimal repairs to keep it in shape so that he can use it at some point. I don't know if the town is ready for another big debt exclusion for this building, but it is obviously it's gonna be something to be done, but you could sell it like the chief's selling it. You have 2 other buildings to sell, you know, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
Good
against,
point.
I'm not against the, you know, but I don't want the buildings to fall down on their own. We have to decide quickly.
We visited both schools earlier this year, and there's a facade issue on the north side of the north school, which is about that much away from the frame of the building. So at any point in time, we could lose that structure, just collapse.
Yeah.
The whole wall could come down, possibly, potentially. We don't know. I mean, we're not building, we didn't want to hire building engineers and stuff like that, but there is a separation between the mortar work and the building itself, so.
The other possibility too is, and I think we're going to discuss it in our general update, but there is a very large project going on at 10 Railroad Street, which is right across the street, that needs parking. There's 110 single-family units with one parking lot each, one parking spot each. Short walk across the street, it could be plenty of parking. So it might be, it might have a buyer right next door to it, who might be interested in it. It may be thinking outside the box, but maybe it's a nice-looking park for parking, and they could use the parking somehow if they purchase it. That's just an idea.
That's another idea.
know.
That's not bad, Ken.
I had a question on scenario 4.
Sure.
The option for the town-run and town-owned senior housing requiring significant investment, excuse me. Was there any numbers thrown around with that?
No, we didn't talk to developers, we didn't really get in, that would need a lot of investigation as to where the source of the funding comes from, who manages, who owns it, things like that, so. It's, it was raised as a need for the town, it's something to be done with these two properties.
And then one other question on scenario 1, is there any way to do that without raising without the cost of the average homeowner?
Short of selling something, I mean, there's no value in the buildings or the components, it's waste, you'd have to, it's a construction project to demolish those two buildings, so there's gonna be costs associated, unless you sell something.
You can't use CPA funds to demolish the building unless it's, maybe,
actually, I don't know.
possibly, if it's a park, if it's gonna be a park,
It's open space that would,
so possibly.
Yeah,
yeah.
a portion of it. Back to the fire station, so we recognized as a group that we couldn't make a decision to recommend or not recommend a fire station because it would be further discussion and a debt exclusion. But for me personally, the fire chief bringing this to our attention, and I spoke to him as well, is, this issue with the fire station is not gonna go away. In the past 10, 12 years, we've built this town hall, the library, a police station, and the high school, but we haven't spent any money on our fire stations in over 50 years, and it's overdue. The town's going to continue to grow, and we should do it right. That's why when we tear down these buildings, great, we have the assets, the land in hand. If it comes into play for future use of any other municipal need, we'll still have it. But the fire station issue is not going to go away either this year or next year or something. It's going to continue to come up that we have to address it.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that, at least on our next agenda, that we have the fire chief, if you don't mind, have the fire chief come in and discuss what he thinks about adding on the building. I know he's provided a letter, but if there's more information that he might want to provide.
Okay.
Could we also have him come in prepared, in other words, and he is always prepared, but take a look at the building structurally inside and maybe give us, throw some rough figures as, if it's worthwhile or what his plans would be, just so we can have something more info to work on.
You can ask the chief.
I think that, I was going to mention that I think there would need to be some professional analysis to determine if it's more, if it's a better situation to demolish it, or if it actually can be adapted for a fire station. I think that's more of an architectural review, but I agree, obviously.
So,
the chief,
are you recommending that we hire an architect?
Well, I don't know if it's an architect or a civil engineer. I mean, we can certainly find out what the appropriate discipline is and get some cost information.
Because that being said, if that's the case, I would like the civil engineer to also look at for the idea of housing, senior housing. And because maybe the housing authority, and get the housing authority in here at that same meeting, and just have them be prepared and say, would you be interested in this building? And we had a structural engineer look at it, and, he could say, no, it's not gonna work, or he could say, there is a possibility. And if they don't want it, then I have no, and I've been stressing this probably for the last year, use CPA funds and go public-private, the town donates the property, the building, a private company comes in, uses CPA funds for affordable housing for seniors. I think it's a perfect opportunity to do something like that, if the building is structurally sound.
So I have a request to have the fire chief come in on the next meeting in December to potentially address the use of the North School property as a fire station, and to the best of his ability, whatever he could, quote-unquote, be prepared to talk to as far as the use of the building and some rough costs, that what kind of expected cost it would be to convert it to a fire station. And also have, I'm sorry, Ken, it's not, was it the Housing Authority?
Housing Authority.
Someone from the Housing Authority also come in for the same meeting to address us right after the fire chief on the plausible use of public housing for either or both of the schools.
My understanding is the Housing Authority has lots of land in town, like right over here, They just don't have the funds because it's a federal, so maybe they don't even have the funds to do it. However, you know we need more senior housing, so I'm more prone to go with a public-private partnership, but. I mean,
See if the
we could
housing
ask them.
authority would be advisable to see if the property could be used, or search out that the property could be used for senior housing, and if so, would they be interested in a public-private type of deal to get development on one or both of the properties? If that's possible, I'd like to have both of those.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board? As a selectman, but also as a member of the group, I'd like to thank Paul and Pam and Wendy and Jared for their effort for this. We did have a few meetings and a few discussions, and I appreciate the time and effort that they gave to this, and I ask you to, I'm grateful for your participation, all of you, and thank you for what you've done. And we have a report, which is a good thing, to give us some starting points. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will make the comment that it's come full circle because as a Board of Selectmen member, we had a surplus land committee we appointed to do this. Surplus land committee said it's too big of a project, we'll have a surplus school building committee, and now they come back and dump it back in our lap.
Yeah, you do it. All my life's a circle, sunrise to sundown. Town of Abington public hearing, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 19th at 7:15. We're just a little after that, 7:21, at the Carter Room at 500 Glenwood Way on the application of Raul Shah Shiva Kisha Corp., 585 Washington Street, for the change of office directors, LLC managers, and issuance of transfer of stock, new stockholder. Are there members here to represent them?
Yeah, I'm the attorney.
Please.
So, my name is Matthew Porter. I'm the attorney for Shiva Kisha Corp. Essentially what this is just a transfer of stock and a change of office, a director for Shiva Kisha Corp., which owns Abington Liquors. So essentially it's a transfer of ownership between family members that own the store. Nothing's changing as far as the store is concerned. The manager is not changing, so the day-to-day operations will remain the same. Certainly I can answer any questions that you may have. Both parties are here as well.
When you say that it's a matter of transfer of stock, but it's not ownership?
Well, yeah, because it's a stock sale, I guess technically the percentage of ownership within that corporation is changing, but
Okay.
day-to-day operations are not.
So the manager on the license would not change? but
That's
the
correct.
ownership, physical ownership of Abington Liquors is changing?
Well,
Are
it
we
stays.
getting 51-49 or
It
something
stays
like
as
that?
Shiva Kisha Corp., but yeah, just the percentages are changing within it. So it's and it's all within the same family. So
Any questions from the board?
I do, and it's just my own ignorance, but why is this in front of us? Is it,
I can answer. The state requires it. So basically, if there's even a 1% change of ownership within a corporation, if it holds a liquor license, the ABCC
Okay, that's
requires
what I was-
it. So we have to go through the
because it holds a
town.
liquor license?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right. Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else from the board?
Just ask, there's no unpaid taxes, everything's all paid up to date and all that sort of stuff.
Everything's, and it was duly advertised, and notification to abutters was not required. So everything is in order.
This has nothing to do with the hours of operation or anything like that, it's just, okay.
So if not, I'd like to request approval of the motion to approve the request for change of office of directors and transfer stock for the Shiva Kisha Corporation at 585 Washington Street.
Any questions from the...
I'll make that motion.
Sorry, is there anyone in the audience who wants to address this? Thank you very much.
Close the public hearing.
If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do I have to have a vote on that?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to close the hearing. Is there a second?
1 second.
Motion and second. Is there anything further to say? All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion to close the hearing is done. I'll take a motion to approve the transfer of the request for change of offices and directors and the transfer of stock of the Shiva Kisha Corp. at 585 Washington Street, also known as Abington Liquors.
I will make that motion.
Motion. Do I have a second? Motion, Tom seconds. Is anything further to say? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you for your
very
time.
much.
We got 6 minutes. What? No, we have to wait till 7:30. Is that a public hearing? You kidding? Why is it? Oh, it might not be a public hearing. Actually, it's not a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing, so can I do it early?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I do it early? Yeah. Well, we're going to do this just to get it moving along, so you don't have to wait any longer. Is there someone from the 10th District here to address the conversation? Look, I think we know who they are. We have a 10th District, which is a local business in Abington, request for changing hours on Wednesday, November 21st, 2018, from 4 PM to 8 PM to noon to 8 PM, and request to open one day on Monday, the 24th, from noon to 5 PM. Really? Any other changes you need?
Actually, one more.
One more, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you're not gonna get it tonight. That's not gonna happen.
Not Black Friday, I hope. Okay.
No. We thought about that, though, actually. New Year's Eve is a Monday as well.
A couple of these holidays are falling on some of our off days, so we wanted to cover as many of them as we could while we're here tonight. Christmas Eve is a Monday when we're typically closed. New Year's Eve is a Monday when we're typically
Is that a
closed.
new year? No, it's an old
New Year's
year.
Eve is
It's
still
It's still 2018. We have to bring them back again for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's not
Yeah.
on
The agenda,
the
yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
Because you didn't mention it.
Not that we don't like seeing you, because we do. We appreciate you coming
It'll
in.
be on the
On the
agenda.
applications.
Do they even need to show up personally when they do this? I mean, I know we do things for the Lions
Normally,
Club or-
it's a
That's up to
public,
the board,
in a
yeah.
public forum, we generally ask for somebody from the
Neighbors might complain.
business, and we just have always done that, so. I agree with you. It'd be nice if we didn't have to.
We approve these sometimes.
We've done it 3 times. I have no problem, we've approved appointments without anyone being here, but
Yeah.
normally when we approve changes to
The
people's.
only issue you run into is if a neighbor does attend that meeting and has questions, we're not prepared to answer it. But, I mean, you can roll the dice and hope they don't. If you guys are good neighbors, you really don't have many neighbors right there, but.
So could you just formally talk about the 2 changes you do want? Go ahead. So you want to change the hours on the 21st,
This Wednesday, yep,
which is from 4 to 8 to noon to 8.
correct.
You gonna have food?
Were you hungry?
I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Didn't we already?
A pretzel's gonna be served?
I figured most people are on their pre-Thanksgiving fast Wednesday night.
I don't believe that's true, but that's okay. It's in my neighborhood, so. And then you're looking for being open on Christmas Eve, from noon to 5 PM.
Yes.
Okay. Any conversation or additional conversation from the board?
I just have one question. The police, were they contacted on this, or were they asked if they had any issues at all, or? I don't think they have, but I just don't know, do we generally do that, or only if there's an issue, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, on significant changes, certainly on new applications or any significant changes, or anything that involves a public hearing.
All right,
It's just a 1 day,
Yeah.
2 days.
2 days. 1 day, twice.
Anything else from the board? I'll take a motion to approve the change of operating hours on November 21st, 2018, from 4 to 8 to noon to 8, and on the 24th of December from noon to 5 PM.
I'll make that motion to change the hours on Wednesday, November 21st, 2018, from 4 to 8 to noon to 8. And Monday, December 24th, 2018.
We have a motion approved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tim seconds. Is there anything further to say? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Sounds like we'll see you in December.
Yeah, we'll be
Well, don't
back
wait.
in
Come back
December.
next month. That's okay. You need to see us before the 31st.
Yes.
We will.
Rick, could we just reach out to the police chief before they come into the next one? Because December, New Year's Eve is kind of a tough night for amateur night, so we just want to make sure that the police doesn't have a problem with that, that's all.
What, just, are you gonna look to be open New Year's Eve night?
Not any later than when normally open, no. It'll probably be like this Wednesday, 12 to 8, something like that.
All right, yes, please get back in touch with the board, all right? Thank you, gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving.
You.
Okay, Norman Cliff.
Town manager report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a few items. First, want to compliment the members of the COA and the staff and the volunteers for a nice event last week, November 13th. It was their annual Thanksgiving luncheon. A number of us were happy to be invited and attend, which is always a nice opportunity to speak to a lot of people you don't see all that often. So, a very nice event, and again, my compliments to all of the board members and staff. Police chief has informed us that Officers Davern and Lynch have been chosen as recipients of the AAA, which is the American Automobile Association's Community Traffic Safety Heroes. This is in honor of them for their excellence throughout the year in areas of traffic safety in the community. You might know Officer Lynch is also one of our school resource officers. Their presentation by AAA is on Friday, December 7th. 10 Railroad Street. As we all know, this has been a big issue for the town in recent months. And as you can see by what I have in front of you, the fire chief has reported and is obviously very pleased that the elevator is up and back in service. Although the intent of the owner is to have 2 elevators in the new facility, that does not have anything to do with the need for an elevator right now for public safety purposes. In addition, the heating units are up and running, and the insulation work is scheduled to begin, but there's still a question of they haven't permitted that with the building commissioner. I have a list down below from what the building commissioner has provided as an update, and I'm not going to read them all, but to the extent that I know the chairman and Mr. Conley have been personally involved in meeting with the owner here too, so if anybody has any questions from this list, please let me know. And the middle school Veterans Appreciation was last Friday, and a number of us were able to attend, as well as Selectman Jim Conley, many department heads, and again, another nice event put on by the middle school students, with also a number of local veterans in attendance. And as I mentioned, a lot of narrative and musical honors by the students. We've had, last few years, we've been able to attend this event, and again, very well done. And again, there's a lot of staff involved, and again, the kids do a great job. Nothing's changing with our solid waste recycling disposal rates for recycling. So we are still looking at having to close the year a deficit of about $250,000, give or take, depending on tonnage. That is not going to be a huge challenge in light of the fact that we're probably looking at a very healthy free cash number again. The issue becomes trying to build an appropriate number into next year's operating budget. That's going to be a challenge. And one other thing that I just got notice today from Old Colony Planning Council, and some time ago, at the request of some of the residents, we asked Old Colony Planning Council to do an analysis of Birch Street and Brighton Streets with regard to their eligibility for heavy equipment vehicle exclusion. And I just got notice in the backup information today from Old Colony Planning Council demonstrating that it does indeed meet the eligibility. Obviously, it's not on tonight's agenda, but on the next agenda, we'll be putting on their consideration by the board as to you wish us to move forward with the application to the Commonwealth Department of Transportation. I know some of you have been through this before with other roads in town. And presuming that you give us that go-ahead, DOT's in no hurry, but eventually, because of the eligibility standards that have been demonstrated, we expect that they will also approve it. If so, the final step would be the Board of Selectmen again issuing the appropriate regulation, local regulation. So again, that's just new today, and I know some of the residents have been communicating with her, are pleased that this step has been completed. Yeah, that's all I have.
Any questions from the board?
Just Hancock Street speed limits, we were talking about
Yes.
contacting our...
Senator Keenan's office has replied to me to date. So far, we haven't got any feedback. But the only thing, after doing their homework, Senator Keenan's staff has confirmed that the only option available for reducing the speed limit is the special speed safety zone that was that the board is already aware of after our prior meeting. So as of now, there is not any information either available to the state senator.
And the recap is a special speed safety zone, what is that again?
25?
That allows the town, I'm sorry,
It's really low, right?
25 miles per hour.
25 miles an hour.
25 miles per hour, right. And based upon eligibility, it would seem that between Lincoln, I'm sorry, Lincoln
Lincoln and Chestnut.
and Chestnut would be eligible if the town wished to make application for that.
And is there any, it's not on the agenda, but should we put it on an upcoming meeting agenda to discuss and vote on that, or, I mean, is there any, that seems kind of low to me.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of residents up there that were in favor of lowering the 40, and when you mentioned the 25 to them, that's a little excessive.
Okay.
Because, I mean, they're the ones that are going to be getting pulled over and getting the tickets for
Yep.
going, so.
All right.
Officers Lynch and Davern.
Yes. Auto issue, I'm sure.
Did they extend that study down to Rockland Street, or is that just coincidence that those speed signs have been put up? My house is right in the middle of the both of them.
No,
They're watching.
They're watching.
it's very possible that a longer or more pointed stretch could be eligible. We just haven't asked that question until it's something that the board may be amenable to.
Facebook site, can we update it a little more often? I know that I was given the password to update, of course, it's not my job, but, I mean, I'm hoping that we can get more content on there. It's not, it's really useful, especially with snow coming up and, trash pickup and school cancellations and even events, townwide events. I think it'd be very useful to, maybe point somebody to that, in the town. I know that IT has a lot to do, but possibly someone could, even if it's a stipend, we can talk about that maybe. I don't know, just an idea, but I'd really like to see, it would be nice to get the election results up there on the Facebook site. I think people use Facebook a lot more than they do, the town website, so, and I would encourage them to, so that's why we should update it more often.
Okay. Anybody on the board have anything else to address?
I do have one thing. I would like to thank Bobby Malloy, our cameraman, for the night. I think it's his first night all by himself, so thank you, Bobby.
It's not easy making me look good, but you did it somehow.
Really?
Thank you.
That's why they didn't like each other.
That's why they didn't like it. Too much glare off the head.
Well, before we adjourn, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Did we do the dog restriction?
No, will we asleep that time? Cancel that. I would make a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of non-union negotiations and not to return to open session.
We have a motion to enter into an executive session for the purpose of non-union negotiations and not to return to open session. I believe I have to have a individual account from each member. Jim?
No.
Tim?
No.
Ken?
Yes.
Tom?
No.
Me, yes. It's a 3-2 no, so we will not enter executive session tonight. If that's it, I would take a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, anything further to say? All in favor, say aye. Do you have anything further to say?
Can I get for an agenda item for the next meeting, discussion of, no, let me think about it. I'll let you know.
Thank you.
I want to make sure I get the wording right.
Anybody else? Motion second, anything further to say? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Universal. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Merry Christmas.